Tim, he told me before the game, he said, you know, there's a lot of pressure on Steve Walsh's shoulders when you think about the fact that 24 of the players on the Cowboys are new this year from the 47 roster last year. Add to that the fact that Paul Palmer will play a big role for the Cowboys in the backfield today because of the injury to Darryl Clack. He's got a bad ankle, so he's just been there 4 days.
And I think he'll help. How about Kansas City now? How close are they, Dan, to really turning things around here?
Well, Marty Schottenheimer told us the other day, he said, you know, when I came in here, I had a good group of core guys to play with. But right now, the key for them, though, is their running game. Christian Okoye, great running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, and defense. They win with defense. And look for that secondary of the Chiefs to do one thing today. They always say, don't be the one to get burned.
All right, Dan, it's a perfect day. Players are still out warming up. The captains are out for the flip of the coin, and we're just about set. This is a sold-out crowd here at Arrowhead Stadium, which says a lot for both organizations. In that, one team is 2-4, the other, which is Dallas, is 0-6. So Dallas wins the toss here, and as I mentioned, it is just a magnificent day for football. The keys today have to be the defense for Kansas City, which has been very strong to this point. It has been turnovers which have hurt the Chiefs. And for Dallas, Jimmy Johnson thinks they're just yay close. Gave San Francisco fits last week before finally succumbing in the final period, and that was, again, Dallas mistakes because they dominated the third quarter.
And I talked to him down on the field just a few moments ago. He said, you know, if you eliminate that one situation on the blocked field goal, and you look at how we played in the game in total, I can see the improvement, and that's the thing that you want to see as a coach from week to week, is that improvement that's going to lead you to some victories. And I think that that's what the Cowboys are doing.
How about this guy, Marty Schottenheimer? Took the Browns to 4 playoff berths, 3 division titles, and 2 AFC title games in his first year here at Kansas City.
I mentioned to him the other day, I said, I can't believe the Browns let you go. And he just kind of smiled very wryly. And, you know, of course, he just left there last year and came here to set up shop and has done the same kinds of things that have made him a success in Cleveland here in Kansas City with the front office. Carl Peterson running the front office for the Chiefs. Expect this team to improve very rapidly.
It's quite a change for him. Kansas City finished in last place in the AFC West in 7 of the last 12 seasons. Qualified for the playoffs only one time in the last 17 years. Good look at Nick Lowry out of the Washington, D.C. area. One of the finest kickers in the National Football League. And deep for Dallas will be James Dixon, number 86. He'll be on the left of your screen there. And to the right of the screen is Derek Shepard. Shepard has come into this team, certainly had an impact. Dixon has as well. Now the Dallas Cowboys, we should tell you, lost Michael Irvin last week. Irvin was on a roll. He had 12 catches in the last 2 games, hurt his knee, went out, came back against San Francisco, played with the injured knee, but now will be operated on Monday and will be out the rest of the year. We're just about set to go. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Dallas Cowboys as Nick Lowry approaches the ball. A low kick taken by Dixon. Across the 25 to the 27-yard line. Tripped up by Rob McGovern after a 23-yard return. So Steve Walsh comes on for the Dallas Cowboys and will take that offensive talent. 2-A, Newt, Bob White, the center. Crawford, Kerr, and Kevin Gogan, who was dinged up last week. And Steve Folsom is the tight end. And Folsom had some production last week with 5 catches. In the backfield, Clack and Johnston. The wideouts, Kelvin Martin and Derek Shepard. And on passing downs, you'll see James Dixon and Bernard Ford, who was activated off the developmental squad, and he is a flyer. First down, Dallas at the 27. Paul Palmer's in the ballgame. It's the reverse. And Shepard has a Dallas first down. Out near the 39-yard line, a carry of 11. As you look at the defensive alignment for Kansas City, it's Smith, Maz, and Leonard Griffin starts for Bell today. Bell has been deactivated for this ball game. The linebackers have really been revamped. Martin and Walker Lee Ashley from Minnesota, Dino Hackett, who went to the Pro Bowl last year, and Derek Thomas, their #1 pick. Big improvements there in the secondary. The strength of the team, Lewis, Ross, Cherry, and Porter. You'll see Pearson and Danny Copeland come in passing situations. First down at the 39, Dallas. Dallas goes straight ahead with Daryl Johnston. He gets about 3. Tackle was made by Salamua.
And Dan Salamua is one of those guys that when you talk to the Chiefs front office and the coaching staff, they say this guy has really been a very pleasant surprise for them. You know, they got him from Detroit, and he really wasn't appreciated there. He's coming here and made a heck of a difference, especially when Bill Moss went down at the nose tackle position. This guy can play some football up front. Big nose tackle, looks like a nose tackle, 6'2" and about 290.
2nd down and 8 for Dallas. Long count by Walsh. Palmer loses the football. Recovered by the Chiefs. Exactly the way that Jimmy Johnson did not want this game to go, and now they say Dallas got it back, and it's Nate Newton. Watch Nate Newton wrestle this ball away after Kansas City had recovered it, Dan.
Well, first of all, Bob White here gets a great block for Paul Palmer. That allows him to spring on that side. You'll see Bob White turn his shoulders around. Great block in there. While Palmer gets downfield, gets in a little trouble right about there. That ball's going to get pushed out. And the officials have ruled that Kansas City recovered the football. This is the fumble right now. You see the Chiefs trying to pick it up, and they kind of bounce around on it. Nate Newton comes in a little bit later on and tries to wrestle it out of there, but it's already recovered by the Chiefs.
Well, they've given us 2 signals. And look at Jimmy Johnson. Still says, hey, wait a minute. You pointed our way. Johnson has been infuriated with the officiating thus far this year.
Kansas City has recovered the ball. 1st down.
Our referee is Jim Tunney. And look at Jimmy Johnson.
He feels that Darrell Johnson, I believe, was down there and had a shot at it, and he felt that he recovered the ball. And later on, of course, Nate Newton came up with it. But in the interim, the Kansas City Chiefs defense had a hold of it.
Hands were pointing. Originally, they said that Kansas City had recovered it. Then they gave it to Nate Newton. And then back to Kansas City, and he's furious.
I know. I was reading the Dallas papers, you know, where they said they wanted to see the coaches at Dallas get a little bit more vocal on these calls that are questionable. And certainly Jimmy Johnson's doing all that he can to get the attention of the officials.
He's hot. 1st down, Chiefs. Okoye. Christian Okoye picks up 3 tough yards. And take a look at the starters. Up front, it's Alt, Addix, the longtime veteran Mike Webster, formerly of Pittsburgh. Lutz, Eatman, and Jonathan Hayes is the tight end. Herman Hurd will be blocking for Christian Okoye, and that Okoye is the way he wants that pronounced. Manley and Stephon Page. Emil Harry will come in passing situations. I had always heard of Christian Okoye, and he said it's Okoye.
When he says it, you believe it.
He's big and strong. I'm not going to go against him. Again, he bangs off the left side, picks up a couple of more. Tony Tolbert trips him up. It'll be 3rd down and short for Kansas City.
Tim, we're going to take another look at that fumble and just see if we can find out who indeed did recover this fumble. There's a better shot of it. You see Palmer coming out of the back, right there. The ball gets stripped out by Ross. It's on the carpet. And that's Chris Martin trying to recover it along with Kevin Ross. And it is tough to see down in that sideline. But there is a Dallas player down there. I believe it was Johnson.
3rd down and 2 for Kansas City. Okoye. There's a flag on the play, and Okoye is stopped short of the 1st down marker. Jim Jeffcoat came and stood him up. Jeffcoat is 6'5", 256. Okoye is 6'1", 260. So it's like a lineman hitting a lineman in the old bull in the ring drill.
No advantage to Jeffcoat on that one. Now, Jim Jeffcoat yesterday came down to the field and asked me to say hello to a friend of his who's just gotten out of the hospital.
We'll get to that, Dan. Here's the call.
Holding. 53. Still 3rd down.
That's Mike Webster.
Dan Peoples is his friend who just got out of the hospital. I want to say hello to his, the Dallas defensive line. Tolbert, Jones, Broughton, and Jeffcoat.
Little change in the secondary. Del Rio, in the linebackers rather. Del Rio starts for Shannon. Lockhart and Norton is healthy again after being out for 3 weeks. And now in the secondary, it'll be Walls, Williams, Horton, and Albritton as Williams comes back from an injury. Bates and Ron Francis. Francis is still having problems with his quad. 3rd down and 12, Kansas City. This time Dallas jumps. Flags fly everywhere. It's a free play for DeBerg, and he has it complete. Emil Herring makes the catch at the 40. A gain of 23.
And what happened on the play, Tim, is the Cowboys just kind of let up a little bit. You'll see them let up here
Defense.
when they know that they got the offside penalty, but the play still goes, and you can see Steve DeBerg really takes advantage of it. You see those guys on the defensive line jumping across. Now, DeBerg's going full speed, but the secondary is reacting a little slow on this. That gives Harry a chance to get across in that crossing pattern and make the play against Isaac Holt.
That's Holt chasing. First real action that Holt has had as a Dallas Cowboy. He came in the trade for Herschel Walker from Minnesota. First down, the ball at the 40. Play action to the tight end. And Hayes rambles down inside the 20-yard line for another Kansas City first down.
Now, the real secret to this play is they know that the Dallas Cowboys know that the Chiefs run Christian Okoye a lot. Now watch these linebackers here on play action. Watch them come up into the line of scrimmage and really get taken up with that play action. And as a result, you come out that backside. Steve DeBerg just drops out there very nicely. You saw he put that ball on his hip to hide it out there. He just dumps it off to Jonathan Hayes, and Hayes makes a nice run out of it. Hayes tells he knows he won't make the Pro Bowl blocking, but that's what his assignment is with Christian Okoye in that backfield. But now he's getting a chance to catch a couple of passes.
Something he has not been able to do all year, and I don't think Dallas was expecting it. A surprise going to the tight end. 3 wideouts now on first down. This is Okoye. He's got outside room inside the 10, and he drops the football. And it's recovered by Kansas City this time, I'm sure. Big Herb Eatman pounded on it. And that has been a problem, which has also not only hurt Dallas, but has been a big factor in what's happened to the Chiefs. They're minus 11 in the turnover ratio.
And what they're doing here is they're running a counter OT. That is running the backside guard and tackle out front. You'll see Okoye break it back up in here. But the real problem is for Christian Okoye is as big as he is, he's got to get down lower when he gets into traffic with that football. You can see he's standing up right there. When he takes the shots, he leaves himself open for that ball to get popped out of there. He's got to learn to duck his shoulders and when to take the blow and just head right up into towards the end zone.
He's still learning. He's played football only 6 years. 3 in college, 3 here. Okoye is spinning on 2nd and 2 and should have enough for the first down. Willie Broughton made the tackle.
You can imagine it's no pleasure when you're in the secondary of any team and you see a guy that weighs almost 260 pounds and runs a 4.46 40. That's fast for anybody, and especially fast for a guy that weighs 260 coming at you and moving with that kind of speed and that kind of agility.
Well, you saw his numbers, and he is fast. He runs a 4.4. He can bench press the earth. He's 6'1", 260 pounds. It's first and goal at the 6. Okoye, left side to the 2.
Tim, they call the big guy the Nigerian Nightmares. You know he's from Nigeria. He just tells his lineman every time they throw some good blocks for him, he comes back and goes, good blocking, lineman, good blocking, lineman. They love him.
They call him Big Mon. Okay, Big Mon, 5 carries for 24 yards. Been banging off that left side behind Big John, Alt, Mark Addix. It'll be 2nd and goal from the 2. Alt, Addix, Webster, Lutz, and Eatman up front. They go to power formation.
They're going right back to that left side.
Okoye, touchdown Kansas City.
They had worked the left side of their offensive line a great deal with Christian Okoye and say, hey, let's go back behind Herb Eatman. Herb Eatman, number 75, told us that nobody is going to beat him physically along the line of scrimmage. They just clear it out in there for Christian Okoye. Just hammers that ball inside. He's going to run between the tackles. That's where he's most effective.
183 straight point afters for Nick Lowry. He's trying to make it 184. He does. And Kansas City jumps out quickly. 7-0 with 8:17 remaining first quarter. A look at the big fella, Christian Okoye. 6 carries, 26 yards, a 2-yard touchdown. And it's 7-0. The drive went 8 plays, 61 yards. You see the time off the clock and Okoye's touchdown after a Dallas fumble. Herb Eatman was injured on that last play, but he appears to be all right. Big Herb Eatman, former Philadelphia Stars in the USFL, 298-pounder out of UCLA. So Nick Lowry to kick off for the second time in the first quarter. And James Dixon and Derek Shepard will deep for Dallas, standing just around that goal line.
This crowd is up out of their seats now. They're kind of excited about what these Kansas City Chiefs are doing.
It'll be Shepard at the 5. Dodges one bullet and then carries it out to the 19, and that'll be all. There is a flag on the play. The tackle was made by Kenny Hills.
Appeared to be pushing in the back. I think that's what the call is going to be.
There are offsetting fouls. Offside on the kicking team. Number 50. Holding on the receiving team. We will replay the kickoff.
So we'll do it again. They showed you the incorrect way. Now they'll try to show you the correct way. The 4 don'ts of the kicking game. Don't be offsides. Don't let the ball hit the ground. Don't clip.
And don't get caught inside the 20-yard line.
You got it. Chiefs offside. Dallas holding. So we'll line up and do it again. A little extra playing time for the special teams.
Yeah, Nick Lowry's getting another chance. You know, I remember this guy when he was back in at Dartmouth. Of course, I was playing at Harvard then, and this guy came in as a sophomore and kicked a 50-yarder against us. I thought he was kind of exceptional. Went through 8 tryouts before he finally made the Kansas City Chiefs, and boy, what a find. Came in here in 1980 and has just been one of the best kickers in the National Football League.
He lives in Washington. I was getting after him one day. I said, Nick, come on, I can kick as well as you can. He says, come on, grab me. We went out to the field. He made me kick. He's got a tremendous leg. Certainly one of the best to ever play in the NFL.
Well, even Jan Stenner credits him with, Jan's career being extended because he taught him about the off-season conditioning and training program that Nick was involved in. Jan picked it up. And if you can believe that, Jan was a great kicker here, but of course he went on and played about 4 or 5 more years after he left here.
So Lowry's all set, and we'll do it again. Again, it'll be Shepard at the 4. Squeezes out through a hole that was barely there, out to the 29-yard line. 23-yard return, and the tackle this time is made by Lewis Cooper. So Steve Walsh, the youngest starting quarterback in the National Football League, comes out for his second series. Dallas moved the ball effectively, just put it on the ground with Paul Palmer's fumble.
Of course, that was one of the problems that Paul had when he left here in Kansas City. There was a lot of controversy going around that, of course, and all that was said and done. But you got to believe this guy's going to be a very positive addition for the Cowboys.
First down, Dallas at the 28. Walsh to throw, has the time and drills it underneath to Palmer, who is hit immediately at the 35-yard line.
When I spoke with Paul yesterday, he told me, he says, this is going to be the thing that they're putting in packages for him. The first package is going to be, of course, the running game and, a couple of different passing routes. Jimmy Johnson said the most difficult thing that's going to be for Paul Palmer to adjust to is the fact that when you have blitz control, where to pick up, when to go out on a route, when to break off a route, those kinds of things are going to be a tough adjustment for him, having only been there 3 or 4 days in Dallas.
On second down and 2 for Dallas. Walsh hands off to Johnston, and he's hit immediately. Boy, Deron Cherry came in a hurry along with Neil Smith, who got him first.
Well, I tell you what happened, though, was the fact that Steve Folsom really got jammed up at the line of scrimmage, and as a result, he kind of just got blasted back into the backfield. And watch, you're going to see Palmer Palmer gets a good block on Derek Thomas there, but you see Folsom has lost his block all the way in the backfield, and as a result, Dallas doesn't get any yardage on the play.
Big Neil Smith, 271 pounds, out of Nebraska. And it'll be third down and 1. Palmer cuts back against the grain, breaks the tackle. Look out, he's gone. Touchdown, Palmer.
Wait a minute. He's going to go get the football from the official. He wants to take that one home.
Paul Palmer just acquired by the Dallas Cowboys from Detroit.
Now, last week the Chiefs had a little problem with Bo Jackson on cutback blocks. You see now, 57, that's Chris Martin, pursues the play now. Paul Palmer breaks it back on the backside. It's wide open back there because the safeties and the corners. Everybody else went over to that right side. Palmer takes it in for the score.
Roger Rusick comes on to add the extra point, and that right there, folks, is special. 63-yard run by Palmer. And Rusick ties it up. 6:20 remaining first period. We've got some fireworks. We're tied. Paul Palmer's 63-yard touchdown run was the longest run from scrimmage for the Dallas Cowboys since 1986. So he comes in this week and immediately makes an impact. Bad news from the other side of the field. Kansas City, Herb Eatman has a knee sprain, right knee. They're taping it, and he may or may not return. As you look at Roger Rusick preparing to kick off for Dallas. And deep for the Chiefs will be number 25, Danny Copeland, and 48, Todd McNair. This will be Copeland, and he will not run it out.
Now, Tim, to go back to that touchdown play, though, for Paul Palmer. Now, one thing you want to watch here is watch as this defense pursues down the line of scrimmage. The key being the backside linebacker, Chris Martin, pursues down. You're going to see Steve Folsom, number 85, get a great block on him on the backside, push him down. Now, if you freeze it right there, now you see this hole developing back here. You're going to see Paul Palmer stretch it back on this side, and he, 63 yards later, stops in the end zone. He says only one guy who had a shot at him, and that was, I believe, Kevin Ross, number 31, and he's chasing him down the field. Really can't catch up with him. Paul turned on the turbos.
Kevin Porter missed a tackle in there, too, Dan. Didn't wrap his arms before Ross got in pursuit. First down, Kansas City. And the Dallas defense shuts the run down quickly. Gain of maybe one. Tackle made by Jim Jeffcoat on Okoye.
Now, see the difference with Kansas City's offensive line and what they do with Christian Okoye. You will not see him break back as much as you see a Paul Palmer type do that. Of course, because he's very nifty when he wants to break back.
That Dallas drive was 72 yards. It was only 3 plays, and the touchdown came on 3rd and short. Palmer's 63-yard run. See the time remaining. First period. It's second down. Call it 9 at the 21 for Kansas City. Left side, Okoye, and this time he loses a couple of yards. Great penetration by Eugene Lockhart. And Lockhart has been on a tear over the last 3 games. He's had 2 interceptions, a fumble recovery, a touchdown, half a sack, 3 passes broken up, and 39 tackles.
He's had a Pro Bowl early season. Want to see how he takes it all the way through the regular season. This is going to be a very important game for him because he knows that defense relies on him so much now for leadership, and he's been supplying it.
See him talking there to Jesse Solomon, who was just acquired from Minnesota. Lockhart trying to clue him in, trying to get him mentally ready to that Dallas system and what Kansas City's doing. 3rd down and 11. Cowboys go to 6 defensive back shotgun for KC. Berg fires, has the completion across the middle. And Harry is out close to the 45-yard line before Ray Horton can stop him.
Now, the tough part there is Randy Shannon, the linebacker, is trying to cover Emil Harry, number 86, down the field. The guy runs a 15-yard in. That's a tough thing to do with a wide receiver. Now, look at the bottom of your screen. Right here, that's where you're going to see Shannon. He's trying to cover Emil Harry, but Emil Harry's a lot faster than a linebacker. And you see right there, Steve DeBerg, nice touch on the ball, just kind of dips it right over Shannon and puts it into Emil Harry.
First down at the 44. DeBerg is 3 for 3, 80 yards already. The first miss today, And it was there, but Hurd couldn't hold on because Walsh drilled him.
Hey, you know, you're not going to fool Everson Walls and those kinds of players with little quick hitches. He's number one. He will run with you, but he'll always keep a cushion. And if you try to do something like that, he's always up close to the line of scrimmage. Likes to keep himself in a comfortable distance to the line of scrimmage, and that's a tough play to throw on him. Herb Eatman on the sideline testing out that sore knee.
You see the scores. Major surprise early. Tampa Bay over Washington 7-0. First quarter.
Early. Still early.
Very early. Okoye. Left side. For no gain.
Tim, what you want to do when you have a big back running to the outside, you want to get guys like Broughton and Jeffcoat out there stringing it along to that sideline, and that's exactly what Dallas did in that situation. They strung the plate to the sideline, so when you get a big back like that, he's running laterally instead of up the field. You're just chasing down to that sideline and let your linebackers make the tackles.
Face mask, 5 yards, number 55. It'll still be second down.
It's against Jack Del Rio, number 55.
Jack Del Rio getting back at one of his old teammates. He used to play here in Kansas City. Matter of fact, yesterday when we talked to him, he was in a rush because he had to go check on his home. He still got a home here.
I'm not so sure who gets back at whom when Okoye runs.
Yeah, it's an even up deal.
Okoye now 8 carries, 25 yards and a touchdown as you look at Jack Del Rio. Okoye leads the AFC in rushing. It's second down and 5 at the 49. Okoye breaks one big, has the first down to the 42-yard line.
A couple of things are going on in that play. Christian Okoye runs what they call smash mouth football. Watch his offensive line. Everybody's reach blocking up in here, trying to steal a playoff out here. Okoye says, no, I want to run right up in here, and that's exactly what he does. He kind of picks his own hole. You see the reach blocks right there, right, number 77, that's Baldinger. He gets a nice reach block on Tolbert. But boy, I tell you what, that secondary of the Cowboys is really unloading on Okoye, about 3 or 4 guys, and that's what you're going to need to stop him.
Yeah, but he dragged Jesse Solomon about 5 yards. Smash mouth, huh? I want to hear that.
Smash mouth football.
3-step drop, throw it out into the flats. It's complete, and it's close to another first down to Stephon Page. Everson Walls rides him out. Well-designed play, and it was perfect execution.
I tell you what, Tim, one reason why a play like that works, a real quick hitch play like that, watch these linemen up front. Their feet will not go past this line here. So they know it's a 3-step drop by the quarterback, Steve DeBerg. See them snap those arms out right now and get into that Dallas defense. Make sure that their guys can't jump up and slap the ball down. That's how you get those real quick hitters out on the side.
Page stretched across the marker, so it's first down at the 31. Okoye for about 3 more. Right now, let's take you to New York and Brent Musburger. Brent.
Well, Tim, there are a lot of folks that thought Washington was unbeatable at home today against Tampa Bay. Blocked punt by the Buccaneers, and Ricky Reynolds, who scored a week ago on an interception, hauls this one in. Tim, the Bucs are upsetting the Skins 7-0.
Brent, that surprises me. The Washington players had a meeting by themselves without the coaches this week to pull together, try to get things going again. I thought they'd really be pumped up, but they have a breakdown on special teams. Second down and 7 here. And flags fly everywhere. Hurd takes Okoye's place in that backfield. Here's the call.
False start, left guard, moving early, second down.
Call it on Mark Addix as you look at Marty Schottenheimer. In his first year at Kansas City. One of the NFL's youngest and most talented coaches. That's the second penalty against Kansas City, though, and that'll drive him nuts. Second down at 12.
Well, he said, the other day, he says, one of the things we got to do is get past all the mistakes and the adversity. The key thing, though, is I want to make sure my team understands how to deal with that adversity when they see it.
Saxon now at tailback. Okoye gets a rest. Second and 12. DeBerg finds a man. It's open. It's his tight end. Down inside the 20. To the 15-yard line goes Jonathan Hayes.
A little slow blocking on the backside with the tight end. You kind of faked the defense out a little bit. Jeffcoat came in there late on the play and just kind of scared Steve DeBerg. He turned around, he saw Jim Jeffcoat, but he also realized he had his tight end sliding out on the backside.
It's a gain of 19 yards, but it's unusual, Dan, that they've gone to Hayes twice already in this game. They very rarely throw to their tight end.
That's right, but you know what they did? They took a look at the San Francisco 49er film. That's what they told us. They said, we took a look at the tape, expect the tight end to be a little bit more busy because they saw what Brent Jones was doing last week.
It'll be first down at the 14 for Kansas City. Okoye back in at tailback. It's the big guy. And Okoye stretches out down close to the 13. Jeffcoat will get credit with the tackle.
You know, you like to see Christian Okoye run the ball because there's no mystery what he's going to do. He's going to go up the field, and if you get in his way, he's going to run over you. You better hope you have some help when you want to tackle him.
Well, look at Steve Pallor on the sidelines there. You got a glimpse of number 11, just acquired from the Dallas Cowboys for 2 draft picks this past week. So Pallor back in uniform after a long vacation.
Took some snaps in practice on Friday.
Okoye on 2nd and 9, breaks it big, touchdown Kansas City. He followed Addix and Webster for 13 yards.
Up front, the big guys are doing it for him. Watch right in here. Watch Webster and Addix right over this side. Open up the hole. You see Christian Okoye just takes it straight to the end zone. Look at that. That's nice blocking. A little slide blocking out. Cuts it back just a little bit right there. Knocks Webster down on his way to the end zone. I guess Webster should have just jumped on his back for a ride.
12 carries, 52 yards, 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. You don't want to analyze him, you just want to admire him. Lowry to kick. Steve Pallor is the holder. And with 36 seconds remaining in the first quarter, it's 14-7. Speaking of Alabama, Derek Thomas, #1 pick from Tuscaloosa, played for the Tide just last year. You know, we saw him yesterday. I was down with Brent Musburger down in Birmingham. And Keith DeCants is as good as any linebacker I've seen yet. He's 6'5", 256 pounds. He'll probably be taken in the first 5 picks in the NFL draft. As good as I've seen. Maybe as good as Cornelius and Derek. Dixon for Dallas on the return out to the 15-yard line. And a big play made there by Rob McGovern, his 2nd tackle of the day on special teams. A return of 15 yards, 27 seconds remain in the first period, and it's 14-7, Kansas City. We'll be back. Dan Jiggetts in Kansas City. Christian Okoye has scored 2 touchdowns for the Chiefs. Paul Palmer had a 63-yard touchdown run for the Cowboys. It's 14-7, Kansas City with 27 seconds remaining in the first quarter. But this is the worst starting field position for Dallas in the ball game. First down at the 15. Palmer is met at the line of scrimmage, drives forward for maybe 1. But that'll be all. Chris Martin, who's having a Pro Bowl type season, made the hit at the line of scrimmage, took the ball away. We've already had one controversy as far as a fumble is concerned. The Kansas City touchdown that got things rolling here came after a Paul Palmer fumble that Dallas thought that they had recovered.
And now Chris Martin strips the ball again, but this time the officials rule that you know, the ball carries down on the field. But when you talk to Marty Schottenheimer, you ask him who his key players are on defense. First guy who he mentions is Chris Martin. Of course, he came here from the Minnesota Vikings. Appears the Vikings got rid of a lot of good linebackers, Solomon and Howard down in Dallas, and now Chris Martin here along with Walker Lee Ashton.
But they got a whale of a running back in Herschel Walker. So that's the end of the first quarter with the score. Kansas City 14, Dallas 7.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Miller Lite, official sponsor of the NFL Player of the Year Award. Miller Lite brings you the NFL's best. New York Life, the company you keep. And by Toyota's quality line of cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me.
As we start the second 15 minutes of this ball game, Dallas is backed up. So it's quite a chore now for the quarterback. And Steve Walsh of Dallas, third NFL start, hit 64% of his passes. And this guy, I'm sure, is on the scouting charts.
Yeah, he's under the developmental squad right now. They just signed him last week.
One stretch last week against the 49ers, Walsh went 11 for 13 in the first half.
Tim, I'd expect a little blitzing out of the Kansas City Chiefs down here. They know they've got Dallas in tough territory now.
Second down and 9 for Dallas. Walsh to throw. Has the completion to Palmer, I believe. I'm not sure. Was it a fumble or incomplete? Incomplete.
Never had control of the football.
Derek Thomas made the hit. There's a flag down.
Illegal contact. Defense, number 29.
Albert Lewis is the cornerback, number 29. They ruled the pass incomplete.
You could see when Paul was cutting back across the grain, he really never had control of the ball. He was kind of bobbling it. And then, of course, Thomas came in and stripped it out. Here's a look at it. You're going to see Paul Palmer come into your frame. You're going to see him bobbling the ball. Now, since this whole time he's juggling it. And, of course, Derek Thomas closed in and just strips him of the football before he ever had a chance to really control it.
But that's 3 times already in this ball game where there has been a question of possession. And who recovered? 2 fumbles and now an incomplete pass. And they're going to review it.
Well, the one thing you want to see in a play like that, it's got to be clear and very visible to the replay officials, and the fact that he had control of the football. Well, in our replays and what we've seen already, you really can tell that he didn't have it. He was bobbling the ball. Now, here's another look at it from the end zone. You see he's bobbling it there, never really catches the football and controls it. Takes a step there, and that's going to be the shot that's going to change this call around upstairs. Let's see that again, guys. If we can, well, I guess we can. You saw that when he takes that step. He's got the football, and then, of course, he takes that step, and then it's stripped out by Derek Thomas.
Hendy Ansich, the head lineman, or the umpire, rather, had to duck to get out of the way, and he had his back to the play and didn't see it. So it was called by a side judge. First down to Palmer. Gains a tough yard. And, I mean, he's taken down in a lasso by Kevin Ross, who grabbed his neck and threw him out. Troy Aikman began throwing this week for the Cowboys.
Said he felt pretty good. He feels his throwing arm is still pretty strong. He says it's going to be a question of how much pain he can handle with the hand that he has had surgically repaired after he broke it. But again, to go back to that fumble play there, it was a question of whether or not Paul Palmer actually took a step with that ball before Derek Thomas stripped it. Apparently he did.
On 2nd and 9, Palmer is going to lose yardage. Salamua came through cleanly and made the hit immediately.
If you're going to play against Dan Salamua, you better get low and you better get, kind of nasty up there, because this guy's going to come across the line of scrimmage. What he does is he fires across the line of scrimmage and he blocks you. Now watch him up on the left side of your screen. That's number 97, Dan Salamua. He's working against Nate Newton inside. Now watch him just kind of charge across here. Now make his crease inside and just simply grab Paul Palmer and wrestle him down. Looks like a steer wrestling contest.
Mark Tuanay looked like a swinging gate. A loss of 2. It'll be 3rd and 11. Five defensive backs for the Chiefs. Walsh out of the shotgun. Throws deep. Dixon can't hold on. Got his hands on it, but had to reach across Albert Lewis, and he couldn't hold it.
It's a case there where your quarterback's got to put the ball out and lead your receiver. Otherwise, you're going to end up in that situation like they did last week with Michael Irvin. If the ball's underthrown, the defensive back has as much right to the football as the receiver. The key there is that the defensive back looks back for that football, then he's allowed to bump into that receiver. There's some contact involved on that play.
Mike Saxon on the punt and deep. For Kansas City is Pete Manley. Saxon has pressure. Gets off a low wobbler. Manley takes it at the 45, and he takes it across midfield to the 48. The pressure was coming. 36-yard punt, 8-yard return, and Bill Bates made the tackle.
This NFL Team Summary is sponsored by Citicorp, because Americans want to succeed, not just survive.
There were no punts in the first quarter. We just saw Saxon with a punt for Dallas here in the second 15 minutes. Okoye has been the star thus far for Kansas City. 2 touchdowns. And Paul Palmer, who just came to Dallas this week, breaks a big one for 63 yards. It's 14-7 with 13:07 remaining in the half. Tim Brant along with Dan Jiggetts, and you called it right at the beginning of the game. You said Paul Palmer will be a factor. He was. 63 yards.
Well, the thing that they knew is that, number one, they had the passing game set up for him, a couple of little different packages. But the key was on the running plays. This is where this guy is really dangerous, because you see, and he breaks that run back on the backside. He got a good block from Steve Folsom, number 85, the tight end. He just breaks it back and takes it 63 yards, takes it the distance for the touchdown.
Another story that we're following, the quarterback, DeBerg, is 5 for 6, 99 yards. So he was injured, had a hurt hand. Jaworski sat down now. He injured his knee, IR. And DeBerg comes in playing ahead of Pelor, and he's hot. First down, Okoye. Gains 2.
You know, another interesting thing about Steve DeBerg is, I'm sure everybody remembers, you know, the tour he had with the 49ers, the tour he had with Denver. Of course, he's always followed by great quarterbacks, young quarterbacks coming in, the Elways and the Montanas and all those types of people. But also think about this. Both of the quarterbacks right now on the sideline for the Chiefs are former Cowboys. Of course, Steve DeBerg was drafted there, I believe, in the 10th round back in '77. So,
fiction, in fact, from Dan Jiggetts' almanac. Second down and 9 at the 48. Herman Hurd rambles down to about the 49-yard line, and he didn't get much on that play. Right now, let's take you back to New York and Brent Musburger.
Well, Tim, Herschel Walker has done it again for the Minnesota Vikings from the 1-yard line. The Vikings pop in with their big running back. That's his first touchdown as a Viking. It's 13-zip Vikes. Let's send you back to Tim Brant.
All right, Brent, we're seeing some of that trade here today. Jesse Solomon playing quite a bit. Isaac Holt, who came back from Minnesota, is playing 2 in the secondary. It's third down and 10. The ball on the 49 for Kansas City. DeBerg in the shotgun. Flag flies. Dallas jump. DeBerg has another free play. Makes it complete. Caught by Clarence Weathers at the 27-yard line.
and you heard Steve DeBerg go with that nice hard snap count. That pulled Tippins across. He's down at the bottom of your screen. He just kind of pulled him off. And this is a receiver isolation up on the top. Now watch this. They're probably going to run. Kansas City likes to run some picks out of that formation there. And of course they caught Dallas in a man-to-man coverage. And Vince Albritton just simply got beat. He got beat like a drum, as well as Isaac Holt, number 30.
DeBerg put the ball right there.
He sure did.
Is really hot. The second time he's come up with a big play after a flag is thrown. So he had the freebie, he took it and capitalized. A gain of 22. It'll be first down at the 27. Play action. Looks deep, throws, has the completion. Page is inside the 5. Stephon Page, the only offensive player to start all 16 games last year. He runs a 4.6. He's a 7-year veteran.
Stephon Page is going to run with a little motion in here, and then all of a sudden he's just going to break into a post route right off of the play, come right into the middle of your screen. Steve DeBerg with nice touch there, nice little play action fake there. Stephon Page came in motion, then came right across to that post pattern. Nice run by Stephon Page, setting himself up very nicely in the middle.
A gain of 23, first down and goal, Kansas City. Okoye. Back to the line of scrimmage, and that's all. It'll be second and goal. Arrowhead Stadium is sold out. Second and goal from the 4. Straight ahead to the 2-yard line. Saxon's in. Touchdown, Kansas City.
James Saxon got that touchdown off of desire. You saw the last 2 or 3 yards. He just got low. Something Christian Okoye might want to look at when he gets down that goal line like that. Watch him as he gets close to the goal line. You know, he's got about 4 or 5 Dallas Cowboys hanging on him. Now watch him just lower those shoulders, keep those legs driving. See that pile just keep moving, backs his way on it and just pushes himself into the end zone, even with Eugene Lockhart trying to wrestle him down to the ground.
Lockhart made contact at the 4, and Saxon just pushed him in.
Leverage. Stay lower than the other guy.
Nick Lowry is on for the extra point, and they're going to replay this to see if Saxon in fact broke the plane.
Looked good to me. Worked for me.
It didn't for Lockhart.
Here's the play again. Now, the one key thing is you want to make sure that the ball breaks the plane of the end zone. The Saxon right here is going to get caught in traffic, but you see he keeps his legs driving. Now they're going to look to see when that knee touched the ground. He's still going, and that ball never crosses the goal line. They're going to take that one back and put it about on the 1-yard line.
His helmet and shoulders did, but
right,
that doesn't
but the
count.
football never did cross the goal line. Now, of course, that's from our angle. Here's another angle at it from the end zone. You see he's driving and driving and driving. The ball right there. Eugene Lockhart still turns him around just before he can get into the end zone.
I think he hit the ground, too, up around the 3.
Bill Fetty is up there, and he's a replay official. Spoke to him earlier. You know, these guys have been under a lot of fire. You heard what Will McDonough said about him earlier in the NFL today. You know, guys getting fired and all of these other things happening with the replay officials. A lot of pressure on them, and I think it causes a lot of problems for the guys down on the field because when they make a call, they want it to stand and just keep playing the ball game.
See if he doesn't hit the ground about the 3.
Takes the side there. He's just ducking that shoulder right now. He's looking about the 3.
The play stands.
No, he didn't. And the play stands. It's a touchdown.
Consistently inconsistent.
So Nick Lowry going for his 186th straight extra point. As accurate as they come. You thought I jinxed him, didn't you? It's 21-7. Kansas City with 10:13 remaining in the half. The Kansas City Chiefs have exploded here at Arrowhead Stadium, 21-7, 10-13 still remaining in the first half. Tim Brant along with Dan Jiggetts. Christian Okoye have scored twice. James Saxon just scored a touchdown. Paul Palmer for Dallas had a 63-yarder. You got a good look at number 21, James Saxon, as Lowry kicks off to Dallas. This is James Dixon, and he's got a hole. Look out. Across midfield, Dixon's gone. 98 yards.
Tim, you saw Nate Newton there just kind of push Dixon back out there, tell him to celebrate a little bit more. You know, that's a big deal. You run it back 98 yards. That's a big touchdown for the Dallas Cowboys.
Dixon has a healthy return average of 24 yards. He's one of the best in the NFC, and he explodes that one for 98. Officially now marked at 97 yards. I gave him a yard. That's exciting.
Well, he just got caught in the jet stream on that one. Nobody came up there. He saw that little crease on the right side of the field, just took off.
Roger Lusick to attempt the extra point. He does. And It's a 7-point game, and there's another penalty.
Try for point was successful. Running into the kicker, 5 yards, penalizing the kickoff. Number 58, 5'8".
So Roger Rusick he went down, he was run into, and I'll tell you an interesting story, true story, as we're talking about kickers. Mike Saxon, the punter, has been run into so much this year. He negotiated an insurance policy with Lloyd's of London. These kickers.
Oh yeah, they really need insurance policy. They're not going to get any.
They want protection.
Dixon's kick return again. Now watch, gets good blocking up front. And the key thing, though, is he stays straight. You know, he's in a straight line now. Watch him. He breaks through that little crease there, and he just heads down the field. See, if you keep running north and south when you're returning balls, a lot of times that pursuit can't catch up with you. Now watch right here. You see that head rocking back and forth. If you're on the return team, you don't want to see that kind of thing happen to this. If you're trying to tackle him, if you see that head rocking back and forth, you know the guy is flying downfield.
Boy, I'll tell you this. Jeff Zimmerman really had a block on that play that really turned it loose.
Yeah, when you see that head go back, you know, and you're on that coverage team, you go, uh-oh.
We've had some excitement here today.
But I tell you what, let's go back to something else that we saw. Well, let's take another look. Do you see that head? See the head shaking right now? Dixon knows he's gone. That's when you know a guy is in the wind.
Now it's time to dance.
Yeah, Nate Newton sent him back out there. He says, hey, man, you didn't do it right the first time. Get back out there and, you know, pull those guns out, shoot them like you're a cowboy.
Roger Rusick will be kicking off to Danny Copeland and Todd McNair. It'll be Copeland deep in his own end zone, and he will not run it out.
Steve DeBerg thought he was sitting on top of a 14-point lead. He finds it closing down in on him, 7 points.
Another flag down out on the field as you look at DeBerg.
Flag will be picked up, no foul. First down, 20-yard line.
That's the first kick return for a touchdown that Dallas has had since 1975.
That was even before I came into the league.
Hollywood Henderson.
Is that right? Linebacker ran it back, huh? Well, you know, one thing I like about this Chiefs offense is with Christian Okoye, you know, as a former lineman myself, I like the fact that the lineman now gets to touch the football a great deal for the Kansas City Chiefs, because Christian Okoye is just simply an offensive lineman who's a little short.
6'1", 260 pounds. He came out of Nigeria. If they had said be a lineman, I'm sure he would have. He just loves to play the game. Play action. To the tight end, to the 25-yard line. Alfredo Roberts, number 87. Gain of 6. Tackle made by Jesse Solomon.
Tampa Bay still leading Washington. Minnesota, no surprise over Detroit.
Dexter Manley caught Testaverde for a safety.
Buffalo cruising past the Jets, and Cincinnati on top of Indianapolis.
Steve DeBerg is now 8 for 9, 150 yards. He's hit his last 5 in a row. Second and 4 for Okoye. First down and a flag is thrown. And they'll bring it back. It'll be holding against Kansas City.
Hey, with Okoye in the backfield, I don't know why the offensive lineman for the Chiefs would be holding anybody. Maybe they're trying to hold them up.
Holding, 72. Still second down.
David Lutz. Word from the Kansas City bench is that Irv Eatman, who sprained his right knee in the first drive by Kansas City, will not return.
And as you talk to the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line, they said that's the one thing that they felt was making their running game so successful, is the fact that now these guys have been together on that offensive line for 6 straight games, really getting in tune with one another.
Saxon replaces Okoye. On 2nd and 14, it's Saxon out to the 20-yard line. right back near the original line of scrimmage. Eugene Lockhart tripped him up.
You know, when Saxon took that ball in earlier for the touchdown, there was a lot of questions as to whether or not he'd gotten into the end zone. Right at the end of that play, though, is when he spun his shoulders just at the end, right before he went to the turf. It was tough to see from our angle. He spun his shoulders and just kind of took the ball and laid it over and broke the plane.
So now you think it's in?
Well, that's how we saw the replay while we were in commercial, but that's how we know we saw it.
3rd down and 10 for Kansas City. Nickel package for Dallas. DeBerg throws underneath. Has the completion to Weathers. It won't even be close to a first down. Out at the 25. They had to get across the 30, and they'll have to punt. Francis and Walsh made the tackle, so Kelly Goodburn will come on to punt. And it'll be his first punt of the afternoon.
And one of the things that the Chiefs offense has been harassed about is the fact that they don't go downfield a whole lot. They have a dink offense. It's a ball-controlled offense with DeBerg throwing short.
He'll be kicking to Derek Shepard, who's 3rd in the NFC in returns. You see his numbers. They're impressive. And he, too, is very dangerous. High spiraling punt. It'll turn over and be taken at the 28. And another flag is down. A 47-yard punt, a return of 7, and Rob Thomas made the tackle. But let's see what the flag is all about, as Jim Tunney will go out and get squared away himself. He'll confer, pick up the flag, find out what the penalty is.
Illegal block on the return. Number 24, it's 10 yards. It'll be first down.
So Everson Walls had an illegal block. Shepard's punt will be brought back inside the 20. They'll mark it just above the 18.
This right there, that's where Everson got the touch right in the back. You saw him pull his hands away like, oops, I'm sorry, but it was too late.
7:04 remaining in the first half. Yesterday on Bill Curry's 47th birthday for Alabama. It's first down and 10, the ball at the 19 for Dallas. Walsh underneath, has the completion to Palmer, breaks one tackle and carries it across the 30 to the 31, and that's where Albert Lewis makes the stop.
You see Kevin Ross on the sideline. He's got an ankle bruise right now, and his status is uncertain at this point as to whether or not he's going to return. But he just watched a former Temple teammate, Paul Palmer, catch that ball up underneath it and take it down. You can see that wrap there. They got a cold compress on his ankle. That's generally what they will do when you get a ding there. You can also see he's got his toe tape. Now, the reason why they tape those toes is because of turf toe many times, particularly when you play on a lot of AstroTurf, as the Chiefs do.
So at the very top of your screen in lock-on coverage is number 24, J.C. Pearson. He comes in and replaces Kevin Ross at that right corner. A little bootleg on first down, and Walsh is out to the 31, so he gains 1 yard on the play. And Derek Thomas came in and tried to do a little more than touch him down.
And it looked like Steve actually apologized for running that play. I didn't mean to insult you, Derek. And we just saw Jeff Zimmerman also take a walk downstairs, and we'll try to get a report on him as well, the Dallas Cowboys, when we can. But he took a walk downstairs and already went to the locker room. So a couple of injuries mounting up again for the Cowboys here as well as for the Chiefs.
Zimmerman has a bruised elbow, and you're right. They'll take some x-rays. Find out how badly hurt he is. On 2nd and 9, the ball at the 31 for the Cowboys. Walsh to Palmer. That should be incomplete. It is. The crowd doesn't like it, but they don't understand it. They thought Porter had the fumble. But if you watch Walsh, it was a shuffle pass, and it's incomplete.
Steve Walsh will learn that when you get in that tough situation like that, sometimes you're better off actually taking the sack. Now here he's going to get him in a little trouble. He sits back in his pocket, hot-footed a little bit here. Now he's getting chased out. Now watch him try to flip the ball to Paul Palmer. But in that case, it's really a difficult thing to do. Try to just kind of flick that ball over there. And, of course, Palmer lays it down. When he catches it, he tries to catch it. It's kind of dangerous to do that because the linebacker can pick that thing off, take it back to the end zone. Sometimes you just take the sack.
It's 3rd and 9. Complete. Shepard, flag, no play. Delay of game against Dallas.
5 yards, 4th down.
I'll tell you one thing, with the amount of penalties that have been in this game, the officials are going to have to get shoulder harnesses from throwing that flag out all day.
Third penalty against Dallas. Kansas City already has 5. It'll be 3rd and 14. The ball now at the 26-yard line of Dallas. Kansas City loads up with 6 defensive backs. And the Cowboys will go to 4 wideouts. They're resetting the game clock. They'll set it at 5:23. Or they should.
Timekeeper must be in a hurry, huh? He's just rolling it off. All right.
I was 2 seconds off. 5:21. Third and 14 for Dallas. Incomplete, no flags.
Oh, boy.
A great lick by Lewis Cooper.
Tim, I don't know how Lewis Cooper got away with that shot there. You see the receiver coming across the field. Just about the time the ball gets there, the receiver gets taken out. That's a very, very close call, and one I felt Bernard Ford should have gotten in his favor.
Used to call that a slobber knocker.
Yeah. Used to call that a penalty, pass interference.
Saxon on the punt for the Cowboys. Manley is deep. Saxon booms this one, gets pretty good hang time, and Manley waits for it. Breaks 2 tackles to the 42. And they called him down. No fumble. 45-yard punt and a 13-yard return by Pete Manley.
Dallas will still question after this game, I'm sure, whether or not they're getting the breaks on the calls. If you saw Bernard Ford come across there against one of those situations where maybe if you're a winning ball club, you get those kinds of calls, but when you're not winning, of course, the officials are not going to be looking out for you. Here's a replay of it. And let's see if indeed Lewis Cooper comes in here and just clobbers Bernard Ford while the ball is still in the end. I'm sure what they rule there, the pass was uncatchable, but of course it's uncatchable if you're stretched out on the field. You know, it's a horizontal game, and if you're in a vertical position, it's not the greatest spot to be in to try to catch the football.
Chiefs with good field position on 1st down for DeBerg. He's had a hot hand. He continues that to the 44-yard line. He goes to Clarence Weathers.
What you will see this offense for the Kansas City Chiefs do is work, as I mentioned before, with those little dink passes, working within the zone framework, what the defense is going to give you. You see those linebackers drop back. DeBerg's experienced enough to know when to dink it in there. You'll not see him go long very often from this Kansas City offense.
Look at those numbers. He's been nearly perfect.
Very controlled offense.
On 1st down, Okoye trips at the line, regains his balance, and carries tacklers to the 38. Steve
DeBerg, as I mentioned earlier, he took some snaps. Steve Ballore took some snaps at practice on Friday and was actually throwing some passes and whatnot, getting familiar with this offense for the Kansas City Chiefs. And you talk to Marty Schottenheimer, he says, you know, it'd be tougher to play this week. It'd be an emergency situation. Next week, you may very well see him. Steve Pallure.
Okoye is shaken up, Dan, and this could be a major story developing here. He leads the AFC in rushing, and if he's hurt badly, which we certainly hope he is not, it would take a major chunk out of that Kansas City offense. He has 15 carries, 59 yards, and 2 touchdowns already here in the first half. We'll get a report on Okoye as soon as possible. Herman Hurd replaces him, along with James Saxon, who's now the lone setback. DeBerg goes up top. Overthrown, intended for Page, who had beaten the defender.
They can see their timing is just not there with the Chiefs. That is, when they try to go long. In that case, it's about a 35, 40-yard pass, and it's just difficult to come out of one mindset and go into another one when you want to try to stretch the defense a little bit. Here's the play that Christian Okoye got hurt on. He trips right here. Now that's the bad news. That may be where his ankle got twisted, maybe. And then right there, as he finishes off the run, he gets bent back right there by the Dallas defense. See, David Howard is in there on the play, and Okoye is on the sideline right now.
Cowboys go to 6 defensive backs. They show a 2-deep scheme on 3rd and 4. DeBerg has the completion. Emil Harry runs out of bounds at the 23-yard line after a fine catch. He was working on Ron Francis, who's not 100%. He has a muscle pull in his thigh. 3rd catch for Harry, gain of 16. And DeBerg is right on it.
Well, you know, Kansas City, when you think about what they do, they have a big back. You know, everybody says, well, if you got a big back, you run the running game. That sets up your play action passes. Well, now the big back is out. So what do? They go to the next phase. They go to passing to the wide receivers, but still within the same framework of controlled passing.
First down, the reverse. And nobody's fooled as Pete Manley comes around the wide side. It took a long time to develop, and Eugene Lockhart met him and made the tackle.
Not only that, the bad news was for Pete Manley was Too Tall Jones, number 72, is going to come in from his defensive end position right here. Now watch him just come in here and meet him up, meet him at the pass on the reverse. Oh, sorry, excuse me, Too Tall. He slips away from him, but Eugene Lockhart is in good position back there and makes the stop.
The word on Okoye is a sprained ankle. They do not feel it's very severe. He's already bouncing on it, and they say he should return to the game. It's a loss of 7 on the last play, 2nd and 17. DeBerg has pressure, gets it out to Hurd. To the 26-yard line. Not enough for the first down. Vince Albritton made the tackle.
But you saw the pressure on Steve DeBerg. He knows he's got some problems there because a couple of defenders are in his face. Now look at the top of your screen. That's where the pressure is going to come from. And Steve DeBerg gets back in that pocket, just kind of settles back in there. He's going to see Too Tall coming right up in his face. They tried to cut Too Tall on the screen and see him just kind of throw that ball right around the side, get it right around Too Tall, who in that case was too small. And you see Herman Hurd make the nice run off the screen pass. And boy, Gene Chilton came down and got a nice block just to finish the play off, number 62 for the Chiefs.
Threw that like Dick Hyde. Remember the old submarine pitcher, underhand?
Running high.
3rd and 13. The draw doesn't gain much. Todd McNair is the ball carrier. Todd McNair on the carry. There's a penalty on the play. But another penalty. Holding against the Chiefs.
You know, when you look at this offense that Marty Schottenheimer's got.
Holding. 53 offense is declined. It'll be 4th down. 2 minutes, 1 second on the clock is correct.
You look at this offense that the Chiefs are running with Marty Schottenheimer. Reminds you so much of Bernie Kosar and what they did in Cleveland with the Browns. Very controlled running and passing game. There's a field goal unit. Mark Cannon's the snapper, Steve Pallure the holder, and Nick Lowry's the kicker.
Lowry ranks 3rd on the all-time list of most accurate field goal kickers in NFL history. But we'll have to wait because we've got the 2-minute warning. Lowry will be attempting a 43-yarder when we come back.
If you like mouth-watering slow...
For the 2-minute warning. Nick Lowry ran off the field, came over to the sidelines, got his holder, who he practices with at the net, and took a couple of practice swings, just like a golfer. Now he goes back to midfield and approaches the ball.
And the interesting thing about Nick Lowry is when the ball is placed by the holder, he'll want that ball with the top tilted forward a little bit, whereas most people think the kicker wants the ball tilted back. He actually tilts it forward off the kick.
A 43-yard attempt for Lowry. It's plenty long enough, and it's good. There aren't many better.
So when he kicks that ball, you want to hear a boom instead of a bump. You got the boom.
And they're rocking in Kansas City.
He got the bump instead of the boom, and he is a happy man in Kansas City, Nick Lowry. Now, I was holding for him the other day. I was kind of watching what he was, how he's kicking the ball. And boy, you hear the compression when a kicker at his size and strength gets a hold of that football. I mean, the compression and the sound is just unbelievable. And the accuracy is the other thing.
Coming up at halftime, Brent and Irv with all the scores, highlights, and latest information for you. And Irv pieces together the ultimate quarterback, Robo QB. Don't want to miss that. That's coming up at halftime here on CBS, the NFL Today.
And listening to the NFL Today, I heard Brent and Irv and those guys talking about what Dallas is going to do with all these draft choices and how much it's going to cost them. Well, I was talking with Jimmy Johnson down on the field earlier, and he said, quite naturally, with all those draft choices, we're going to use some of those to get some experienced players. So expect to see them very busy once the trade deadline comes here on February 5th or so. Expect to see them in the market.
Dixon has already returned one, 97 yards, so Lowry will try to kick it away from him, and he does. This is James Dixon. And he's got another big hole. Got a block from Shepard. They actually tried to kick it away from him. He went over to the other side and took it.
Nick Lowry was doing a little tango down there with one of the Dallas linebackers. They were kind of getting into it a little bit. There was Steve Hendrickson, number 50. They just got tied up with one another and doing a little chicken bounce down there in the middle of the field.
A return of 30 yards. Washington has jumped up on top of Tampa Bay now. Here in Kansas City, we've got 1 minute and 50 seconds remaining in the first half. It's 24-14 Chiefs.
No score yet in that Raider-Philadelphia Eagle game. That's kind of a surprise. It's at the half as well.
Walsh will go to the hurry-up offense. Incomplete. It was intended for Kelvin Martin.
I saw the Kansas City Chiefs do something there that Marty Schottenheimer and Bill Cowher, their defensive coordinator, told us that they were going to do. They use Derek Thomas. He came up over the nose that time, came from outside, came up over the nose and rushed the passer as a nose tackle, stand-up nose tackle, albeit. But that's one of the things they want to do is try to mix it up with him a little bit and get some pressure on Steve Walsh by sending him in a lot of different directions.
Walsh is only 3 for 7, 20 yards in the first half. Second down and 10. Long count on the draw. Sargent breaks one tackle and carries it to the 33-yard line. Clock continues to move. It's at 1:35.
This kind of situation, draw play, instead of running the draw play, you think you maybe want to work to the sideline so you can stop the clock in critical situations. And there you just get to the middle of the field, and defense is going to give that to you.
Play clock on the left, game clock on the right. Walsh in trouble. Incomplete. Kelvin Martin paid the price for that pass, too. Even though it was underthrown, he got drilled by the secondary.
And Derek Thomas had some heat on Steve Walsh as well. Number 58 came in from outside and put the steam on. He told us a story the other day. He said when he first met Lawrence Taylor, he told Lawrence he wanted to be as good as Lawrence Taylor. And then LT told him he can't be. That was the challenge to Derek Thomas, and he's going to meet the challenge in the National Football League. He says that's what he's all about now, is meeting that challenge that Lawrence Taylor gave him to be as good or better than Lawrence Taylor is.
Saxon to punt. Manley is deep for the Chiefs. High punt, and Manley will take it to 20. Fine move, now gets out of bounds. 47-yard punt, hang time of 4.8, and a 7-yard return.
I mean, you saw Pete Manley give, I think it was David Howard came down. He gave that little matador move just when he came up the tackle, just slipped the tackle. Pete Manley is acquired, of course, from the Detroit Lions for the Chiefs, and you can't believe that the Lions let a guy who catches 50 balls a year go. When you look at the offense that they run, the run and shoot, but Pete said things just wasn't fitting in there, and of course he fits in very nicely in this Chiefs offensive control passing game.
Dallas 3 plays and has to punt, so they don't milk the clock. And now all of a sudden, DeBerg, who's really played well here in the first half, has 1 minute and 7 seconds to work with. His team is already up by 10.
And he's an experienced quarterback that knows how to work the 2-minute drill.
Both teams have all their timeouts remaining. DeBerg. And McNair carries it out to the 40. Todd McNair, the 8th-round draft pick out of Temple.
But what do you do when you have an experienced quarterback and an experienced offense? You see they run the play. McNair was near the yard markers when he got caught, when he caught the football, but then he works his way to the sideline and gets out of bounds to freeze the clock.
Smart play for a rookie. He's also a big play guy. 2 carries last week. He gained 20 yards. Here, his first one on this catch, he gains 14. Under a minute to play in the first half. DeBerg, again with plenty of time, has the incompletion in the direction of McNair, and it went right through McNair's hands. Randy Shannon, the linebacker, was in coverage. The ball should have been caught. Interesting how Pelor is so tuned into what's happening.
Steve Pelor is a very bright guy. He talked with Marty Schottenheimer and said, this guy picked up the offense pretty quickly. Of course, Marty's had some history of teaching quarterbacks an offense very quickly. He did it last year with Don Strock in Cleveland. He's come back to do it now here with the Kansas City Chiefs.
On 2nd down and 10, DeBerg throws underneath to McNair. To the 49-yard line, not enough for the first down. Again, he's working on Randy Shannon, the rookie linebacker for Dallas.
That time you saw Tippins come in on the blitz, in the outside position. It's a perfect time to have the blitz on. If you're the offense, you want to see that linebacker, that outside linebacker, come in on the blitz. He's going to be coming from the right side of your screen. And what Steve DeBerg does is he knows he's got that screen on, so he just allows all that action to take place. You saw Tippins get cut right there, just fires the ball right over there, and lets his running back McNair do the rest. He gets a nice block out front by Addicks.
If you're wondering where Christian Okoye is, he's out with a sprained ankle. 3rd down and 2. DeBerg has the completion to Clarence Weathers, and Kansas City immediately takes a timeout. So it'll be first down at the 45 for the Chiefs. And remember now, they have one of the best kickers in the history of the NFL in Nick Lowry. His longest this year is 47 yards. But he's got the leg to hit well over 50. Kansas City with 2 timeouts remaining in the first half. 40 seconds remain in the period. And the Chiefs lead by 10.
Tim, I would have to believe that now the Kansas City Chiefs at some point or another, with their timeouts left and all the rest of that, are going to have to work the middle of the field. When you go down here and you get in this position, you know Dallas is going to try to prevent you from going to the out of bounds. Those are the kind of routes they're going to try to prevent. So now you hit them down the middle of the field.
Nick Lowry has hit 2 58-yarders in his career and a 57-yarder. So he certainly has the strength. Although most of those were in the early 80s. He's getting up in years, but he's still a great one. Well, it's been an interesting first half. Kansas City got the ball after a fumble by Dallas in the first quarter, went 61 yards in 8 plays. Christian Okoye with a touchdown. Then Paul Palmer broke one for Dallas, went 63 yards and tied at 7. Okoye then scored a 13-yard run, and then Gene Saxon scored. It's 24-14. We had a big return by Dixon on a kickoff. 97 yards for a touchdown, so we've had some fireworks. Dallas jumps where they drawn. Jeff Coach says they were. We'll find out what the officials say.
John Alt, number 76, just kind of dropped back in there a little early. That penalty will probably go against the Chiefs. If you're a lineman, you've got to go forward instead of backward. And if you hope to get the penalty.
Defense, 5 yards, still first down.
They called it against Dallas.
You saw Gene Tunney saying he was over, he was over. Well, was he over the line of scrimmage?
Prevent defense, you can see they're playing all the way back to the 25-yard line. They want to prevent the touchdown, obviously, but they cannot give Kansas City too much room and put them in Lowry's range. Jeff Coat not happy with that call. Jimmy Johnson not happy with any of the calls thus far.
No, because usually if you're going to rush up, you know, and you come across the line of scrimmage, if an offensive tackle backs up, unless you touch him before he gets a chance to back up, the offensive lineman is going to get the penalty. Now, see what they're doing here is they're probably reviewing the same way they said, resetting the clock. But normally the offensive lineman gets the penalty unless he goes forward. If he goes forward, and because he's drawn off by the defensive lineman, then that's when the defensive lineman will get the penalty.
Resetting the clock, it should be at 40 seconds.
Now watch over here on the right side of your screen. Watch Alt right here as Jeffco gives him that upfield motion to see if he moves first or does Jeffco. Now Jeffco doesn't touch him. You see Alt moving out now. See, that defensive lineman can jump across and then get back, but there may have been contact somewhere along the line, maybe at the nose tackle position with Dean Hamill.
So the clock is at 40 seconds. They're ready to go. Cowboys come in with 7 defensive backs now. It's first down and 5 at the 39. The draw play. They've got the first down. They've got a big play. McNair carries it all the way down to the 21-yard line. A gain of 18. You see the clock. It continues to move. DeBerg with time has the completion to the 14-yard line. Again, it's to McNair, so he comes in, and the rookie pays off big.
Talked about using the middle of the field, though, instead of going to the sideline, because you know the defense wants to prevent you from going to the sideline. So now you use the middle of that field.
Kansas City takes their time out, so they have 1 left. Boy, if you're an opposing team, you hate to see that. Nick Lowry loosening up on the sideline.
This is like a chip shot for him. You know, when you look at his misses, most of them have come from the 44-yard range and out. So when he gets down in here, this is almost automatic. Now the same thing down here, if you're over in that Kansas City Chiefs, the huddle there with Steve DeBerg and Steve Pellure along with the coaching staff, you're probably saying, well, we used the middle of that field very nicely now. Maybe now's again the time to go back to the corners of that end zone with our receivers. So we've tested the middle, we found what we wanted there. Now maybe we work our guys into the end zone and just try to drop it in those corners.
Washington leading Tampa Bay. Minnesota shutting out Detroit. You're watching Herschel Walker. He's got 8 carries, 49 yards, a touchdown, and 3 receptions. It's second down and 3 at the 14 for the Chiefs. Again, the Cowboys jump. There's a flag. DeBerg has plenty of time and throws an incompletion. It was intended for McNair. Good coverage by the Cowboys. Everson Walls.
And Tim, you can hear, and I'm sure our audience can hear, Steve DeBerg with that hard snap count, that hut, hut. And what happens, that defensive line hears that second hut, and they take off because they think right now the ball's going to be snapped.
Offside. Defense, number 98, for 5 yards, makes it a first down.
Saw that Pittsburgh score. The Steelers have only 1 first down in the first half, 27 total yards. Well, another penalty moves it inside the 10. It's first and goal now at the 9. Let's listen to that hard count you talked about. DeBerg has time. Looks into the end zone. No good. Incomplete. They said Page didn't come down in bounds.
Key there being, did the defender push him out of bounds? If he had been allowed to come down naturally, would he have come down in bounds if the defender pushed him out? The question there, though, is I'm sure the officials see it and say, well, when he went up in the air, he was already heading out of bounds. Then they won't give him the play. Now, he'll come into your frame down on the bottom of the screen. Now, let's see where he comes down in there. Does he get bumped when he indeed comes down? Do you see the contact there? Kind of incidental. He steps out of bounds. Boy, that's a tight one. That is a very tight play, because if he got bumped enough to send him out of bounds with the momentum of taking him out of bounds, that's the key. If his natural momentum didn't take him out of bounds, then it would be a touchdown because he got bumped out there by the defender, Horton.
They're reviewing the play. Everson Walsh was the defensive back.
It's a question of momentum. When he comes down with his momentum.
The play stands. Incomplete pass.
This is a momentum play. Again, when Page goes up in the air, does he get hit and driven out of bounds, or does he naturally come down and slide out? And what they rule there is that he just simply came out and slid out because there wasn't enough of a bump on him from Everson Walls to rule that the momentum of Everson Walls pushing him out was the cause of the play.
Nick Lowry comes on for a 27-yard field goal attempt. He's already hit from 43. It's up, and it's good. So with 3 seconds remaining in the half, Kansas City extends its lead to 27-14. So on the ledger, make sure Jimmy Johnson knows he may have gotten a call in his favor.
Yeah, he may have dodged one there because Stephon Page is still arguing that he came down in bounds, and he feels that maybe because Everson Walls bumped him, but it's got to be one of those clear things where, you know, the defender really just jams you and knocks you all the way out of bounds. Here, it's in that gray area, and the gray area this time will go to the defense because Everson Walls just kind of nudges him right there in the leg. That's enough, of course, to push him out of bounds. But it's got to be one of those things where it's very clear that the guy drove you out. I think when you see Stephon Page jumping there, he looks like he's jumping towards the out-of-bounds marker at the end of the end zone in that case. If he had been cutting flat straight across the end zone and then gotten slammed out, it would have been a clear, clean case of the momentum of the hit knocking him out of bounds.
Don't forget, coming up at halftime, the NFL Today with Brent and Irv. We'll have all the scores and highlights for you from around the league. Interesting features. Don't miss it. The NFL Today coming up at halftime here on CBS. 3 seconds remain on the clock here in Kansas City. It's 27-14 Chiefs. The special teams have already gotten their instructions. And keep in mind, James Dixon has already run one back from 97 yards. What do you do, Dan? Squib it?
I think they just put it on the ground and make one of the up backs run it back, one of those big guys standing out there. You don't want to put it in Dixon's hands again. Give Nick Lowry.
That's what Lowry was just finding out from the sidelines. There's the squib, there's the fumble, and you don't want to give Lowry another shot. So Sargent covers it up quickly, and there's still 1 second left on the clock. Boy, that could have been disastrous.
Yeah.
A fumble there, and Lowry's back out on the field.
You're the Dallas Cowboys here. What do? You go with Big Ben, put 3 receivers on one side, load them up, let Steve Walsh throw it as far as he can, hope for the penalty, maybe pass interference, so the half cannot end on a defensive penalty. So then you maybe get a chance to kick a field goal in that situation.
Do you do that, or you take the kneel play and just get in trailing 27-14, knowing 2 touchdowns, and you're still.
I think you roll the dice a little bit because you really can't lose in that situation because the ball's going to end up 60 or 70 yards downfield anyway.
1 second remains in the half. 27-14 Kansas City. Steve Walsh is their quarterback in shotgun formation. 3 receivers to the top of your screen, and that's where Walsh is looking. He throws deep, and it's incomplete. It was intended for Derek Shepard. So that's the end of the first half with the score: Kansas City 27, Dallas 14.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by the exciting, innovative, unconventional new spirit of Dodge. Norelco Lift and Cut Shavers, we made close comfortable. And by Diet Coke, just for the taste of it, with 100% NutraSweet.